Who is the coolest Ultra in the history of Ultraman? Whether you're new to the Ultraman franchise or a series veteran, it's easy to appreciate how cool and unique some of these creatures of light are. But who is the coolest Ultra of all time? That's what we're going to discuss today as we count down the top 10 coolest Ultras of all time. I rank these based on their look, origin story, abilities, and popularity, but of course, let me know who your favorite Ultras are in the comments. And now, let's get into it. First up at number 10 is Ultraman Blazar. He has a classic Ultraman look with some nice flair added, like a flame on his face and some red and blue striping on his body. Ultraman Blazar is named after a type of extremely luminous active galactic nucleus called blazars. The crystals on Blazar's face are crystallized remnants of energy released from when his face was cut. Kind of like a scar, which I think is pretty cool that he has a scar that looks like a crystallized flame on his face. The red and blue patterns on the left side of Blazar's body were inspired by tribal markings representing strength. Gento Hiruma is the leader of the Scarred Special Kaiju Reaction Detachment, and he henshins into Blazar. Overall, I think his look is a nice mix between classic Ultraman with some really fresh modern additions to the design, and I think these design choices work really well. Next up is Ultraman X. X's host Daichi is a member of Zyo. There are a few reasons why he's called X. One is because X can stand for Exo, which means outside or outsider, or Xeno, which means alien or stranger, and these are some characteristics that fit Ultraman X pretty well, so that's why he's called Ultraman X. I would say that his helmet looks quite similar to the original Ultraman, but it is supposedly based on Ultra 7's design. I don't really see it, but that's what I read. The digital patterns emitted by X were inspired by the film Tron. While he was not the first Ultra to fight as one with his host, X is the first shown to regularly talk to them during a fight. Supposedly, X's fighting style is meant to mimic that of the original Ultraman, showing that he had not fought for a long time, so he was finding his style again. I think X looks pretty cool. I feel like the best Ultraman designs have a classic look with some new flair and modern elements added to the design, and I think that X fits that description pretty well. Next at number 8 is Tiga, who was the first Ultra that could change forms. He was also the first Ultra that had aired on TV in 15 years. Apparently, Tiga in both Malaysian and Indonesian languages means the number 3. He was once a giant of darkness that chose to follow light again. He's had multiple hosts, and he even has a new gen series called Trigger. Tiga was the first Ultra to never speak aside from grunts, and all of his speaking is done by his human hosts. Ultraman Tiga's form colors are said to be based on the wavelengths and strengths of the visible spectrum of light, from ultraviolet to infrared, and he was also the first Ultra to defect from the side of evil and redeem himself. I think that he has a really cool story, and there's something so classic about his look. I think all of his forms look good, and yeah, like I said, classic. Next up at number 7 is Ultraman Nexus. Now, I could have put the Next or Noah in this spot, but of his different forms, I like Nexus the best, because samurai. His suit is based on Japanese armor, while his eyes are based on the Egyptian pharaoh King Tut. Nexus's name comes from the idea that he creates a nexus of bonds with his hosts. All of the names of Nexus's forms represent a person's growth from childhood to adulthood. Anfans, Junis, and Noah all represent different stages of life. He was originally meant to be the opposite of Ultraman Cosmos. Cosmos was meant to show Ultraman's kindness and that if you believe, things will come true. Nexus was meant to show Ultraman's strength and how you have to and you can overcome challenges in life. This show was nearly called Ultraman Cross to represent bonds in the show. Nexus has the most hosts ever, and he was the first Ultra who has an alternate form that is considered a completely different Ultra. I think that he looks freaking awesome. He looks like a silver samurai with just a little bit of red for some contrast. I'd say that this suit design is close to perfection. Next up is Gid, or Jido. He is the son of Belial, and his name comes from the words Gene and Destiny. His host is Riku, and although Ultraman Gid is young, he is a skilled fighter and can best powerful opponents that have defeated much more experienced Ultras. He is the second Ultra ever to combine the powers of two past Ultras to create his own forms. He has those cool eyes like Belial, and I would say that he's a pretty unique and dynamic looking Ultra. Next up is Dube, the fusion of two Ultras, Ultraman Rosso and Ultraman Blue, so I'm kind of just gonna lump them all together. But Dube is a Super Ultraman formed from the fusion of Ultraman Rosso and Ultraman Blue, as I said before. Now, Rosso and Blue look pretty cool on their own, and they're pretty unique in the franchise already, being that there are two of them, but Dube is gold and very cool looking. Katsumi and Isami Minato are the hosts, and I think they're pretty likable anyway, which adds a lot to how I feel about the Ultras here. And yeah, this isn't a form that we see very much, but I really enjoy all three forms featured here, that being Ultraman Blue, Ultraman Rosso, and Dube. I think they all look good. Next up at number 4 is Ginga Victory. This is a fusion of Ginga and Victory, and he is hosted by a fusion of Hikaru and Sho. Ginga Victory gains access to most of the main Heisei Ultra's powers in addition to his original and Victory's attacks. It's also worth noting that both Ginga and Victory are considered opposites to each other. Ginga's name is in fact Japanese, while Victory's name is English. Ginga originated from the future, whereas Victory was present during the Earth's ancient times. I think Ginga Victory looks great. He looks very unique compared to other Ultras, being that he has red, blue, and yellow on his suit. And this form came at the climax of a movie that was the result of 2 series worth of story. So by the time that this form actually came out, I think Ginga had really earned that wow moment, and it paid off. Next up at number 3 is Carmira from Trigger. She is the leader of the Giants of Darkness, and she is based on Kamira from Tiga. I think that this has to be one of the sickest suit designs in the history of Toku. Her helmet just looks freaking awesome, dude. There are lots of various lighting and effects on her costume that are controlled by a remote, by the production crew, to really give her suit extra life. Her former lover, Trigger Dark, switched to the side of light, and this consumes her and makes her vengeful and driven. She holds a great resentment towards Kingo Manaka for stealing Trigger from her. Though she would never admit it, deep down her greatest desire is simply to be with Trigger Dark again. Later on, she transforms into a monster called Megalother that seeks to cover the world in darkness. But if we're talking about just Carmira, she looks freaking awesome. Her helmet has a real cat vibe to it. You know, like she's gonna slice your ass up. She's extremely skilled at fighting, and definitely not someone to take lightly. Number 2 is Belial. He was once a great warrior of light who tried to steal the plasma spark and was banished. He turned into a Rayonix, becoming forever evil. He is also the father of Ultraman Geed. His name also means devil or Satan, which is fitting. His main design motif is the shark, and his hunched appearance is meant to give him a more villainous silhouette. His early, non-corrupted suit was made by modifying the suit of Ultraman Zerth, interesting fact of the day, and he is very prideful and greedy. He will betray subordinates at a moment's notice if it benefits him in that moment. It's revealed at times that he is sorrowful about his banishment, but would never admit it to anyone, choosing to simply let it fuel his rage. Belial is extremely powerful and manipulative. He is able to defeat an army of Ultras without much effort, and only Ultraman King, Zero, and Geed, who is himself a clone of Belial, have been able to defeat him. Using Belial virus energy through his claws, Belial can inject this into life forms and make them into his servants. If there is a devil in the Ultraman universe, it is Belial. And he looks cool as hell, very different from other Ultras. But you know, not everybody can make this list, so here's a few honorable mentions. First up is Ultraman Saga. He is a super Ultraman who is a fusion of Zero, Dyna, and Cosmos, and he only appeared in the 2012 film titled Ultraman Saga. His helmet looks like he has some kind of crown that's melting, and his color is one that we don't see very often. I would call it a dark metallic plum. Next honorable mention is Ultraman Taro. His parents are father of Ultra and mother of Ultra, and he was trained since being a young child to be the strongest Ultra in the universe. He was a teacher / trainer in the Land of Light, and he taught young Ultras how to fight and be heroes. He has an absolutely classic look, and I dig the Viking horns. And the last honorable mention is Trigger Dark, who is a giant of darkness, and Trigger's original form before he turned to light and became a separate Ultra. Trigger Dark looks freaking awesome. He's kind of a dark gunmetal color, and his armor just in general looks very aggressive and sinister. The only reason that he's not on the main list is the same reason that I put Tiga instead of Trigger, which is that I didn't want to have 3 entries from the same show on this list, that being Trigger. And what I think is the number 1 coolest Ultra of all time, that is Ultraman Zero. What an unbelievably iconic and popular Ultra Zero is. He is the son of Ultra 7, and as I said, he is one of the most popular Ultras in history and has been featured in a massive amount of Ultraman projects since his debut in 2009. Conceptualized as Ultra 7 Axe, he was originally planned to have had a similar look but all red. They decided to add blue to make his look more attractive to new viewers because they thought the red dominant suit design was too prevalent in the franchise and kinda played out. Screenwriter Yuji Kobayashi revealed that in order to symbolize the restarting of Ultraman's story from scratch, they decided to go with the name Ultraman Zero. Long ago, Zero tried to take the Plasma Spark from the Plasma Spark Tower, but was stopped by Ultra 7 and the Ultra Brothers. He was then exiled on the barren K76 planet, and he was forced to be trained by Ultraman Leo while wearing restrictive Tector gear armor that reduced his combat capabilities. He would eventually learn that his father is Ultra 7, and he would go through a redemption arc that would see him freed. Zero would go on to live a heroic life and become one of the most prolific and popular Ultras in the entire franchise. He looks cool as hell in my opinion. He has a similar body design to Ultra 7, but with that little pop of blue. I love the horns because it makes him look like an Oni demon or something of that nature. He looks classic and modern at the same time, and that's super hard to pull off. And that's why I think Zero is the coolest Ultra of all time. But you know what? That's just what I think. Let me know who your favorite Ultra is in the comments, and if you enjoy this video, it would mean tons to me if you would smack the out of that like button. I've had quite a few people ask me to make some Ultraman content, so here you go. This is me kind of dipping my toe in the Ultraman water to see how you guys are going to react to it. If this video does well, then I'll probably make a lot more Ultraman content. So if you're interested in this, let me know. I'll make more Ultraman content if you guys want it. But that's all I got for you today, so thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye!